All right, what's up, guys? Want to make this short little video, just kind of a raw talk about addiction and more so specifically alcohol, and if it's something you should be putting in your body. I'm going to kind of just take you through my experience with it a little bit and just maybe kind of tell you a little bit about some of the warning signs you might have if you're anything like me and you ultimately, are a little bit concerned that you might have a problem with it or something like that. I'm going to kind of walk you through some warning signs of what I have personally seen in my experience with it, things to kind of look out for, and ultimately maybe make the decision to not partake in it. Don't click off the video, but like kind of like spoiler. Like the conclusion I guess I'm kind of coming to for myself is like I just like don't have any control over it, and it's probably maybe better off that I just stay completely away from it. But it's taken like multiple years, I guess, of trial and error to like finally get to this point where I'm like, oh man, this is like, I'm just not good at this shit. Like, I'm just not very good at drinking. So we'll just kind of go through my experience with it a little bit and, kind of give you some of the warning signs of what to look out for, like I said. So, one thing I think is important to mention before we even kind of get into that is like, if you look at some guy that's like an alcoholic, um, usually like they don't get a DUI their first time drinking alcohol or any like real consequences of consuming alcohol until probably like later on. After a couple of years of drinking, or maybe it's 6 months or whatever. The timeline is always different, but it's important to know that the consequences from drinking for people that we can identify as alcoholics, usually doesn't start day one. It usually takes time to build and to the point where it gets out of hand and then consequences start to follow. For me personally, I don't really have any like major consequences from it, but what I can say is like that shit's getting close to the time where it might, like it's just gotten more and more out of control as time has went on, and it's like the fact that I haven't suffered any consequences yet from, not having control over drinking is just kind of luck. So, let me go ahead and just tell you what my experience is like with drinking, and then you can kind of see if you relate. First and foremost, if I know I'm going to go somewhere where drinking is present, I'm already probably on the wrong mindset to begin with, right? Like, if I know that me and you are going to go downtown, right, and or our friends are going to go meet downtown, and we're going to go to some sort of event where drinking is going to be present, I'm not thinking about it like I'm going to go downtown and hang out with my friends and have a good time. I'm thinking about it like we're going down here to drink. And if I'm going to be completely real and raw in this talk, like we're going down there to drink, and then hopefully I find somebody to riz and fuck. Right? Like, I know it sounds horrible and very blunt, but I just want to be real with you on here about this. So, like, that's kind of my mindset already going into it. It's already starting off poorly. So, my experience with it, when I am in that environment, right, and I'm like deciding, okay, where I'm going to drink, my first drink starts out a little bit weird, right? So, I kill it, I guess, as fast as I possibly can because I'm trying to ease myself into the pressures, I guess, of being around other people, right? And then for me, even at this point now, I've known drinking's a problem. So, like, I kind of almost have anxiety around the fact that I'm drinking. It's one of those things, like, I know is personally not good for me because of my relationship with it. And so, whenever I'm having my first drink, like, I'm trying to get the sober feeling away as fast as I possibly can because I got so many thoughts going in my head, like, oh, I'm nervous. Like, there's so many people around here. It's dark. It's fucking loud, and also it's like, oh man, I probably shouldn't be doing this to begin with. But I know if I have a few drinks and keep going, all those problems will disappear. So, the first drink, I'm drinking it. Maybe we're talking a little bit. I'm kind of there. I'm listening to you. We're having a conversation, but like I'm concerned about the drinking, right? I want to drink it as fast as I can. Now, for me, the first drink or two, I don't feel very good, right? Like, I almost feel like I got brain fog. I feel like everything about me just kind of like fucking sucks for a little bit, right? Like, my coordination isn't as good, and my ability to like talk and think logically and have a good conversation is definitely going to be cut down a little bit. So it's almost like I'm getting poisoned, I guess, by the alcohol. And I guess that's what alcohol is. So maybe it makes sense. But I'm definitely getting poisoned. All the good shit about me is fucking going down the drain. But What I do know is that if I have more drinks and keep going, I can push right through that feeling. And so that is what I do. I have more drinks. I kill my first one, my second one, and it's different, obviously, depending on what I'm drinking, but there is a certain amount of drinks where that shit goes away. And then now this is like kind of like stage two, I guess you could say. Stage two would be categorized by like all that shit that I was just talking about being bad a second ago is now switched over to being good, right? So my coordination's better, my ability to think and talk and not have extra thoughts going on in my head preventing me from saying what I actually want to say is all out the window now. You know, everything is on the table. I can talk how I want. I'm not afraid to be myself. I'm more authentic. And in some regards, at least from my perspective, I become more authentic, more like me, I guess you could say. Now, if you're looking at me, you know, I've never like watched myself the whole night. So like maybe I'm like talking out of my ass right now, and maybe you're like, this guy is fucking a jackass once he starts having like a couple drinks. You know, that's maybe possible. But at least from my perspective, before I get too obliterately drunk and get blackout, things do get a little bit better about me. So the issue that is arising here, though, is the fact that I now have to keep drinking or do my best to maintain that level. But that just doesn't work, right? So whenever I drink, I have like this false sense of control that I finally have some bit of control over my well-being, right? Like I walk into an area, I'm sober, maybe don't feel too great. You know, I don't have like access or instant access to, I guess you could call it dopamine, really. But with drinking, I know I have control over my well-being in the sense that if I don't feel good, I can just have more drinks, and then that'll make me feel better. So the whole night, you know, I just feel like I can control how I feel to some extent. Now, obviously, that slips off like a slippery slope, and you know, you end up getting blackout and shit. But to some regards, that's why I say like it's like a false sense of control. I feel like I have some control over my well-being, but ultimately, I don't, because what will happen is once I start feeling good, you know, I'll push it and I want to feel better and better and better. I cannot just be happy with that feeling that I'm at. I've got to have more. I've got to maintain where I'm at the bare minimum. The idea of coming down from that is just, it's just a nightmare. I wouldn't do it. So ultimately, what happens is I end up pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and then I black out, right? And when I black out, I'm not like fighting people in the parking lot. I'm not like jumping in my car and running and crashing into cops. But my mind definitely changes. I'm definitely not afraid to be a fool. And I'm also pretty much only thinking about two things at that time: more drinks and fucking, right? Can I go talk to some girl and then talk her way back home, right? And I'm sorry to be so blunt here about it, but that's just the truth. And I've experienced like other people that have a problem with alcohol. You know, they have like different things that they really, really focus on once they get to that point of like blackout. You know, it might be like some of them like, I've got to get cocaine when I get to that level or whatever else it might be. But any sort of ability to be clued into the room or environmentally aware or have like maybe even a good time with your friends is gone because I'm going to have those two things on my mind: have more drinks and fuck. And that's all it is. It's just mission orientation at that point. So that's obviously not good. And by now, you know, I've had so many drinks and I'm completely blacked out, and I don't really know what I even do at that point, to be completely honest with you. Like, my memory just completely gets wiped. It's like I have amnesia. Um, I can't remember anything. People will tell me the next day that you did this or that, and I just, you know, maybe remember like little tiny fragments of it, but like the whole entire format of the night or the sequence of the night is gone. Like, I'm not gonna remember that we started here and then went there and then went back here and then ended up here. Like, I'm not gonna remember any of that. Um, and that's a problem, you know, ultimately, because it's like you're so out of it that you can't even remember what you did. Like, there's no telling what I could have done. And so that's typically my experience with alcohol. And now I've had many different experiences throughout my time drinking, right? I'm 23 now, and I started probably drinking around 18. And like I said in the beginning of the video, it didn't necessarily start out like this. There was definitely like some underlying issues that, looking back, were pretty clear. You know, like, oh, okay, this was a little bit different for me compared to other people. Um, but it was definitely not as obvious as it is now. Um, so like if I'm drinking and I'm deciding not to have this experience happen, right? Like maybe I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go downtown with friends or go to this, a football game, and we're just gonna have a couple drinks, right? Or I'm meeting somebody downtown, we're just gonna have a couple drinks. That experience for me just fucking sucks. It's just terrible because what I have to do going into it is like really think about moderating the drinking. Like I have to be very precise and not letting it get out of control. And it takes so much mental bandwidth to have to think about that it just takes away from whatever's actually happening in that moment. Not to mention, if I do go there and I have one or two drinks, like I said earlier, I'm not feeling very good. I have to drink more to actually get past that shitty feeling after the first few drinks to where I can actually start feeling good. So I really just get like all the negatives without any of the good of it. And I would have rather just not drink in the first place. And so like trying to control the drinking is just, even if I can control it, it's not a good experience for me. I would much rather have just not drink. And you might ask yourself, okay, you go out and you have maybe a couple too many drinks. And then maybe you've had 5 drinks. You're at that point that you're talking about where you start feeling good. I mean, it doesn't even feel like at that time, I don't feel like I have any control, right? Like I'm already slipping into the abyss of just like, fuck it. Impulse control is gone and just do whatever you want. Like I can't use this logical, sober brain in that moment. Like that's just gone. It's just a matter of what feels good in this moment. Do whatever you can to get more of that. So like trying to plan ahead for that it's not going to work. So like really if I want to go out and not risk anything bad happening and have a good time, it's like I need to be sober, right? Because if I have 1 or 2 drinks, I'm just going to be uncomfortable, miserable, having to fight the idea that I can't have drinks more the entire night. It's going to take away from the conversation that I should be having with people and friends when I'm down there and we're all supposed to be enjoying a good time. I'm not going to be having a good time and be uncomfortable fighting that in my head. Not to mention I feel like shit because I just had 2 drinks and I don't feel good after I have 2 drinks. So at that point, I'd rather just be sober. It's either be sober or the alternative is have a decent amount of drinks, but there's a good fucking chance that I'm not going to stop and I'm going to just completely black out. And so that kind of leads me just to another point here of like nothing bad in my life has really, really happened just yet, but it's getting closer because you only have so many times where you can just drink a bunch of alcohol and black out and just not know what you're doing and not give a fuck and just be living off of impulse before you do something silly, right? And it's like I've drove before when I shouldn't have drove. I got lucky that nothing happened that time or those times. I'm not afraid to admit it. I definitely drove very intoxicated before. And I got lucky in the sense that nothing happened. I could be living a different life right now had 1 or 2 things occurred, while I was under the influence of doing that. I've probably said stuff to people that was not right, and who knows what could have happened. I said that to the wrong person. Maybe they pull a gun or a knife or something. Who knows what could have happened with that? There's so many times that I had the opportunity to do something bad. It's just I've gotten lucky for one reason or another. And so with that being said, if I can't control it going forward and I'm aware that I'm just kind of getting lucky every time I get to this point of blacking out, it's like, well, something needs to be done. And pretty much in my mind, the only option is like, I'm not going to be able to drink. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I think it is important to note that there's just so many social pressures of drinking, right? Like, I'm kind of a social guy, and I'm not like this super leader. I'm not like this guy that's going to stand on the table and be like, you guys are wrong. We need to go this way. Like, I don't know. I like to fit in, I guess, to some extent, And so you look around, you see all your friends and everyone else drinking, having a good time, and it doesn't seem to be a really big issue for them. And so you think that you could do it yourself. But deep down inside, if you're my age or something, you've been drinking for a couple years, you know that for you, it's different, right? You know that for you, alcohol has a different effect on you, but you don't want to admit it. And you don't want to feel ostracized and the pressure of being different and being the guy that can't drink, right? So, I mean, you tell people too, like I've told people, oh, I don't drink. Like, and that social pressure you have, people are just looking at you like you're crazy, that must have something wrong with you that you can't drink, or you're like almost trying to be better than them or something like that. It just makes things awkward and uncomfortable. And you would just really honestly rather either just cave into drinking or just not be there in general because it's just uncomfortable. So I think it's really important to note the social pressure of it because that's a big one. It's very acceptable for people to drink and especially younger people to drink. So that's super important to remember. But yeah, ultimately, you got to ask yourself, like, are you anything like me, right? Like, do you get to this point where you just don't have any control over it? Does it get out of hand? And have you just gotten lucky at this point to not run into any problems? And if the answer is yes, it's like, man, maybe maybe stop trying to fight it and maybe just kind of be like, man, this drinking shit's not for me. Like, I can't do this. I don't have a good control over it. And from there, decide what you want to do. Do you want to stop drinking for an extended period of time, or you want to stop forever, or whatever it is? But I'll tell you, for me, like, I'm not drinking. It's just not for me. I just can't do it. And like the time that it would take me to figure out how to actually be able to successfully drink, it's not worth the risk of like fucking my life up in the process of trying to figure out how to do that. Life can be enjoyable without drinking. So maybe lean into that. But that's about all I got for you guys. I want to talk more about this kind of stuff on the channel because I feel like there's a lot of underrepresented young men out there, or just maybe even women as well, where you see a whole society doing something, like drinking, and it seems so normal and acceptable, and it's maybe not a big deal for people, but then you yourself are like, it's not like this for me. Like, I have a different problem with this. And so, I'm just kind of speaking to those people right now and just letting you know, like, you're not alone, right? Like, fundamentally, alcohol just has a different effect on us, and it's not one that can just easily be controlled like it can for other people. So it's important to really keep an eye on it before it does something detrimental to your life. So that's what I got for you today. Thanks for watching. We're going to have some more shit coming soon. So thanks, guys.